Hello and welcome. Episode 17 of the Full Program Golf Podcast with me, Josh Conlon, and as always, with Stevie McAvoy. Today, we are going to the Algarve, and then we're moving on to Oman. A couple of different places, a couple of different bits. Let's get into it. Stevie, how are you?
Joshua, I'm very well. How are you?
Good. Yeah. You know what? I'm good. I'm really good. It's always nice to get a bit of winter sun.
Mm-hmm.
But what I will say, when I boarded the plane, I felt like I left autumn and really came back to winter.
It's so I actually didn't get the big winter coat out of the cupboard at all last year, and it's been out this week, and I can blend that with also the recent purchase of a cold plunge, which lives outside, which I've been trying to do mornings whenever. And so I've just been in this kind of perpetual state of cold the last week, which not really a big fan of.
Well, at least you know you're putting an end to that in, what, a couple of weeks' time, 3 weeks' time, probably?
Yeah, 15th of December, and I cannot wait to get that vitamin D. I think you're being very kind to the viewers if they're watching on podcast, because you're going to put yourself in the shadow a little bit, just hiding that mahogany tan that I know is probably there.
Oh, it is. And you know what's nice? It's not the golfer's tan where it stops at the arms and you've got the little V. It's a nice, rich shade of mahogany. We're enjoying it.
As someone with a kind of rich, strong Sheffield heritage, have you ever considered just, where along the way a Conlon relative maybe went on holiday somewhere and fell in love with a local girl or man, and just, this ability to tan, I'm very confused by.
So it definitely comes from my mum's side. So it's not a Conlon. Definitely from my mum's side, and who knows what happened down that line, because she goes very dark. Yeah, she could probably start speaking a different language and pretend she's not English, and people wouldn't speak to her by the pool, because she goes really dark. Yeah. Like not a Sheffielder. Not a Sheffielder heritage dark. It's a dangerous game we're playing here. We got to stop.
Yeah, unfortunately, no McAvoy or other side have ever kind of dared to venture off in quite such an exotic way. So my strong Northern European heritage just unfortunately shines through.
Keeps it milky white.
Oh yeah, nice and milky. So where have you been off to? You might as well let them in on the secret early.
Yeah, so went on a big 24 lads golfing trip to the Algarve. We do it every year, and I felt like this year was the year where we've completed the courses to be played there alongside some of the other courses I played there previously. So we did that for like a long weekend, which we'll cover first, I guess, and then went off to Oman, which wasn't purely a golfing holiday, it has to be said, but covered off Al Mouj, a couple of little bits and pieces. Couldn't believe the ranking it's got. We'll get onto that in a bit. But just generally enjoyed a bit of winter sun before mid-Jan, where we get a bit more.
Nice. Well, before we dive into that, we should probably just kind of touch on a couple of bits and pieces going on in the golfing world. How much of kind of like the end of season stuff did you pick up on? Obviously, kind of we moved through Ryder Cup and all that kind of stuff, and you fall into a bit of a funny period building up to the Christmas, but there is golf going on.
There is golf, and being on the same time zone as Dubai when the DP World Championship was on was great, because I didn't have to get up at silly o'clock to watch them tee off or anything like that. So caught quite a bit of that, and I thought it was really, it's always interesting when it's the end of a season. People are playing for spots, people are playing for the end of season prize funds. Obviously with this DP World Tour, people are playing for PGA Tour cards, because apparently they're now a feeder tour, which is a different problem that I think they're going to face. So it was just interesting in quite a few different ways. Was really rooting for Jordan Smith to get a spot, given he missed it by pretty much a shot last year. Started awfully and then came back like the gun he is, and was able to get his card. Unfortunately, Dan Brown fell out. Another great year. Don't know if you saw his post. I'm kind of just monologuing now, but I'm enjoying it. I don't know if you saw his post where he was just like, look, gutted to miss the card, but highest world ranking I've ever had. I've won twice. Can't imagine that. I didn't think I'd get this good, which I thought was a lovely take.
Yeah, no, I did see that.
And I was glad that Fitzpatrick won the playoff, albeit the stones on McIlroy to again eagle a final hole to get in a playoff like he did in the Irish Open.
Yeah.
Is solid.
Is he just wearing on you a little bit? Is the greatness just wearing ever so slightly?
Look, I can appreciate his quality. It's not even his fault that he grates on me. It's the Sky Sports just absolutely licking his arse for, even if he shoots level par and leading's like 10, 15 under, they're like, oh yeah, but he's hitting shots that no one else can hit. And it's like, yeah, but how about we don't talk about him this week? Because we can talk about him for a lot of weeks because he's brilliant. It just gets boring, and that's not his own fault. Of course, he's not going to say stop talking about me because he's going to earn money from it, but it just gets taxing.
Yeah, I do you know what? I haven't watched a huge amount of live golf in the last kind of 5 years or so. It'd be quite interesting to go round again and kind of watch McIlroy hitting the golf ball up against these other players, because you'd have thought that, you know, he's obviously an unbelievable ball striker, the size he is, etc., but you'd have thought now, with where the game's going, that, you know, you look at someone like Marco Penge who's coming on. I mean, he hits a ball as good as McIlroy, doesn't he?
Yeah. They played together first 2 days in Abu Dhabi the week before, and it was nip and tuck who hit it further. If anything, Penge hit it a bit further. And they played together first couple of rounds again for DP World Championship at Dubai. And again, like, there is no difference in length. I think there's clearly a difference in ability to play a shot under pressure, and that's just because Penge is younger. And hey, also on top of that, they're different leagues, right? At the moment,
yeah. I mean, McIlroy's Grand Slam champion.
Top, yeah.
You know,
so in terms of length and distance, yeah, definitely. It's just grating when he's like in a tree and they're like, oh, he's the only guy who could hit the green from here. It's like, well, that's not strictly true.
So you touched on it ever so slightly there, and I did see a thing, and it'll be interesting. So now with the setup, it's at the top. How many that go from the DP World Tour onto the PGA? It's 10 or 12, isn't it?
10 that aren't already on PGA
Top 10,
Tour.
And I looked at that list, and the reality of it was, from the top 6 finishers, Penge was the only one who wasn't already on the PGA Tour. So really, you know, a lot of those top spots, which was really kind of, I suppose, you know, you're expecting like 1 to 10 to go on, are already on the PGA Tour with the dual membership. And then I've read through the names that then filled the next 9 spots, and it'll be interesting to see if any of those go on and establish themselves as kind of proper PGA Tour players, if that makes sense. Because my general feeling was, okay, I get it. It you know, it feeds it all through. It, like, yeah, I mean, it's a secondary tour now. That is just what it is, and I suppose that is what it's been for many years. But if we're just going to feed in 9 players who are then going to hover around the 100 mark and ultimately just lose status and then go back and do it again, like, I just can't. You know, there'll be the odd one that it works, but it doesn't feel like we're kind of pushing the big strength of Europe up onto that tour. I think they're finding their way on there much faster in other ways if they're good enough.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I do think that actually the crop of 10 that are coming out of this year are particularly strong, actually, having watched a bit more golf. I think it's always difficult because what a lot of them find is that do they have to move to the States? Do they move their family to the States? Do they like fully basically become a PGA Tour player, or do they keep the dual status? And it's probably a bigger thought for a Penge who probably wants Ryder Cup status as to a Ryan Fox, who basically just last year just went and has just up sticks and gone to play PGA Tour. And obviously it's worked for him. He's won the Canadian Open and he's kicked on really, really well. But, you know, you look at the 10 that got the status. I've mentioned Jordan Smith before, who's been a bit of a journeyman on the DP World Tour. It's going to be really interesting to see how he performs and whether actually he does move to the States or whether he does it in little sections. But you've got the likes of an Alex Noren, who I couldn't believe didn't have a card. Must have lost it somewhere along the line with his injuries and things like that. But he's had phenomenal season, winning twice, 2 massive events as well. I think he'll be fine because he's Alex Noren. As long as he doesn't get injured, I just think I think he'd have been playing Ryder Cup, quite frankly, if he'd have had a less of an injury hit season. So I'm talking that he's that sort of caliber of player. But it's going to be interesting. And the other thing that I saw, similar to last year, Tom McKibben got the 10th spot and then went to LIV. There's rumblings, isn't there, that Laurie Cantor, who got, I don't know, about the 4th or 5th spot actually, is going to do exactly the same thing. And he's going to go to LIV, back to LIV. He would have been the third player on the PGA Tour to be playing it who's played LIV, which would have been an interesting wrinkle as well. I bet he'd have got terrible tee times. He looks like he's going to go back and he's going to be... I don't know what team he's joining, but it'd be interesting.
I would love to segue to LIV because they've obviously made quite a lot of changes in the last couple of weeks, months, whenever it was. What do you think about those announcements and especially on the format for next year?
The format for next year, I think it's a bit laughable. They came out with all of this. We're changing golf. It's going to be a 54-hole event because everyone's tired of 72-hole events and it's going to be golf but louder and all that, which I know is staying, but to then just go to 72 holes for ranking purposes, which again, there's been a few people talking about they think they could have still got rankings if they'd have stuck at 54, or maybe they still won't get rankings because it's about your quality of field and things like that. I think it makes it look a bit of a farce. I'm all for LIV Golf. I actually really like the fact that there isn't a monopoly anymore. But I just think that particular point makes them seem silly.
I mean, I think the silliest thing of all, and it's going to test my Roman numeral skill here, but I mean, ultimately, they need to now be called LXXIV.
What, Legion? Yeah.
Well, because like LIV is 54, like LIV is 54, and so now they are 72. Oh, sorry. Well, yeah, there you go. I completely messed it up. It would be LXXII. That would be their new name if they. So
it doesn't stand for anything. If I hadn't even considered that.
Yeah. Literally, they are going against their brand name by making that change. And didn't they also
handle though?
Yeah,
they couldn't get LIV Golf.
But aren't they also saying they've got to wear trousers as well? I mean, like, what bearing does that have on it?
I don't know. I really don't know.
I don't understand at all.
I don't get it. I've been more interested in the few of the things I do like that they've done is now having a drop zone where you actually do get dropped. You don't get bailed out like Bubba Watson got last year when he was in the drop zone because you're a captain. I love Stenson. Always loved Stenson. It's a shame he's gone.
Yeah.
And when I said I wonder what team Cantor's joining, instantly you just go, he must be taking Stenson's spot with Horsfield.
He was on the Majestics
and Westwood. I think
Cantor
he was
Majestics before. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so he's going to be there again, you'd imagine. I like the fact there's a drop zone. I like the fact that you can qualify. We got Scott Vincent and
made it back,
a lesser known fella who's back because they finished in the top 2 of they were the top 2 placings who weren't already on LIV in the Saudi series, which was quite an interesting element as well. On the Saudi stuff, guessing you didn't catch too much of it.
I didn't, but I know some of the results, but I would love you to tell me all about it.
Yeah, it was actually a really good watch, and it was going into the final round. You had Caleb Surratt, who's obviously one of the Legion lads, and Dean Burmester, who's just been cruising this year. I think he finished top 5 individually, which is mega.
He hits a really good, solid South African golf ball that just stays munched.
It stays here, doesn't it? Yeah. He's they were leading and Josele Ballester, easy for me to say. It was like a couple of shots back, and he's the new kid on the block, isn't he? He's one of the fireballs. They rate him very highly, and to see him come through and win in what is a big field. It's a strong field. Pretty much most of LIV go and play that event.
Mm-hmm.
Was interesting to see if he kicks on and becomes a more prominent member of the Fireballs, because obviously Answer's also leaving. He's going to talk to take up Mito Pereira's spot, who 3 years ago nearly won a US Open and now doesn't have a card anywhere. US Open? PGA.
I thought it was PGA, yeah. And he hit it in the water on the last, didn't he? Absolute
one of the worst tee shots under pressure we've ever seen.
I think it was a good tee shot, but he hit it through the fairway, if I remember correctly. It was like a creek in the thing, and you're just like,
carved it right. So he's going. You've got, Answer's going to talk, which is the Neiman team, who, if they have a fourth player, they could be really, really dangerous. It's mad to think that Pereira missed his cut and still finishing a team that finished like third, second.
Yeah, the moving of the team's an interesting one. Like, I mean, is Answer just like not mates with the others? And like, you'd have thought that the movement would be, especially if they're a decent player like he is, that would be, it would be few and far between.
I think it's more of a Spanish team. Fireballs will now be Spanish. So they leave, Answer's gone, and it's the young lad who's played for them. Can't pick his name out straight away, but he's now joining them, and now Talk will continue to be the South American team, because obviously, that's quite interesting. Saw that Victor Perez is joining the Cliques.
Mm-hmm.
So the Cliques is just going to be like Richard Bland, Martin Keimer, just
graveyard slot.
DP World Tour, just lads getting together. Victor, come on over, let's go and have a look. Let's see what we can do, which is interesting.
I'm just, I'm sorry, I'm jumping back a couple of things. I mean, the Stenson run is quite an interesting one. I wonder how he'll look back on that, because he's ultimately given up Ryder Cup captaincy, won his first event, which would have cashed him 4 million or whatever it was, and then basically done nothing and lost his card. Like, yeah, how does he review that? It'd be really interesting to get a candid answer to that from Stenson. I'm sure we never will, but just a thought.
Given he's won, I think it's successful.
Yeah. I mean, it made more money.
It's going to depend, isn't it, on whether the Ryder Cup ever invites LIV golfers to captain, because maybe it will mean more to him that he lost that. Clearly it didn't, because he went. But maybe, given he's not going to have a long, prestigious LIV golf career, or whatever the new name of it needs to be.
Well, I tell you what he might do, and just flick us back onto the golf travel subject, is his new course in Sweden looks unbelievable, and I believe it's the first design that he's led. And so maybe there is a kind of long and successful career in architecture for him. So I said it looks phenomenal. I believe it's called Crownwood. If you've not had a look before,
I've seen it.
Yeah, no, it looks wonderful. So Saudi Invitational. Was there anything else from the Saudi Invitational?
One more, and we mentioned it when he came out. When the boy, he did his announcement video, "I'm back," we expected more. I think it's fair to say, Anthony Kim, we expected a little bit more than just propping up every field for the last 2 years. But finished tied fifth, 14 under. It was his lowest 36-hole total, lowest 72-hole total since he's come back. And I just think he's good for golf. I just think he's a good personality for golf. He's got some opinions, whether you agree with them or don't. He's pretty vocal about it. He's a story of someone who's come back from the brink, right? He's clearly got some demons.
We're talking Anthony Kim, just for...
We're talking Anthony Kim, yeah. He's, we said it, didn't we, before it came out? But like, wow, he's had some partying.
Yeah. He's had a good time.
And it's come out since that was the reason. So that's, at least like it's been acknowledged, and it's taken him a bit longer, but it should take a long time to be able to go back to being a competitive professional golfer. It just shows the talent's still there, which I thought was a nice story. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. No. You mentioned the field being as strong as it was. I think fifth is comfortably the best achievement since his return, and so there's not been that many high points, but this certainly is one. And then talking about kind of lost cards, people moving on and off the tour, quite a lot of big names losing PGA Tour cards this year.
Yes, yeah. Webb Simpson, massive miss. I think Kuchar missed it as well.
I was going to say, I think Kuchar missed it,
which is a pretty big one. Obviously, Joel Damon, who shot himself into the front of one of the media darlings off the back of full swing. Last year, he holed a putt to keep his card. Clearly, he's struggling, isn't he? Back-to-back years, he's like in and out. I think Doug Gim, I know he's not one of the biggest names, but just Doug Gim, like, what a name. Just like, cool. Come on, Doug. Yes, some big names losing their cards, but equally, fresh blood. Sami Välimäki coming out and winning. Would he be? No, he's not going to be the first Finnish player to win. He's not Finnish.
Is
he's only 20
Finnish?
Yeah, I'm sure he's 20. I'm sure he's Finnish. Sure he is.
I think so. The Nordics.
Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm going to have to check it while we're here, aren't I? It's just one of those things. Yeah,
get it go. Let's get a fact check going live on the pod. Did you, so I know there was kind of confirmed, it was confirmed at the RSM Classic, but did you catch any of the Bermuda stuff the week before in all of those wins?
Saw some of it. That
looked like good fun. I like it. I like it when the wind blows.
He was the guy who was putting one-handed at one point, wasn't he? The winner.
Yeah, the winner. So I saw a video, and he's obviously got the demons going, and he managed to just suppress them enough over 4 rounds, because I believe he was kind of right. He was like normal, finger down the shaft, kind of like starts first day. Next day, he was like right down on the metal. And then there was another part where he was just going right-handed, and then he was back down on the metal and he held the winning putt. And you're just like, whoa, God, that must have been a stressful 4 rounds to get it round and win.
I mean, the only way he must have won is because he's got that many demons that he can't even feel the wind. Whereas everyone else who's normal is like, oh my God, what's this wind? And he's just like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. The wind's blowing his putting stroke back online. Now, I ain't taking the mick out of anyone's putting stroke. We know that, believe me. But yeah, great for the bad putters amongst us. Great to see we can be PGA Tour winners.
Well, maybe if you change your grip every 6 holes, let's say, then maybe you'll be on the tour.
Maybe
the ball striking's there,
but with one of them, and I still wouldn't do that. So we go from there, one-handed. But the problem is, I'm left-handed. So if I obviously play golf right-handed, I'd be still left-handed with the one-hander. Doesn't work. Tried it.
I mean, I would pay a lot of money to see you go a season putting with a left-handed putter, one-handed. That would be like the ultimate, like, suppress the demons move. You're just like cleanest ball striker, right-handed, and then just getting on the green, almost like with a paddle racket, and just kind of like shooting it in
down the hockey stick.
Oh dear. Anyway, whatever works for you, and so I'm not sure anything works for him, but he won, and so that was a good win. But I did enjoy the wind blowing, and I think that did give some entertainment to some full series stuff. One thing I just wanted to mention before we jump into some location stuff is I did pocket every single hour of the 6 Internet Invitational episodes, which, outside of the Masters this year, is quite comfortably the most coverage of any golf tournament I've watched in 2025. What does that say about me? I don't know, but let me tell you, you haven't watched any. Am I right thinking?
I've only caught some of the snippets and some of the fallout.
Yeah,
and some people haven't come across very well, I'm hearing.
Let me tell you, it's bloody good TV. Like, really, really, really enjoyed it. Thought Big Cedar Lodge, which was its host venue, came across really well. It's a shame none of their golf courses are ranked that high, because it looks like a proper resort to get down to. The Ozarks, beautiful, huge elevation changes, amazing vistas. The par 3 course. So they had 48 players. They whittled them down. They kind of just got rid of half of them after 9 holes, and they got rid of another half after 9 holes. It was pretty brutal at the beginning. Like, some really big names that you thought were going to feature kind of were got rid of. And so you're whittling down, and as you're getting them whittled down, and so each episode was a 9-hole. Not quite. But anyway, there were 6 kind of individual rounds, and then they stuck them on the par 3 course, where they played 3-man team alternate shot. And I believe this was when they only had 12 players left. So there were 4 teams, and they kind of like between themselves picked the teams. And what made it such good TV, I thought, other than the fact that everyone was mic'd up and there's loads of money and these are all amateurs and so blah, 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 blah. is it was so high pressure, and this par 3 course was absolutely all over the gaff. I mean, the elevation check, you thought you hit a good shot, it ripped back, the ball was then off it was just carnage.
Yeah.
And just to see like teams that included like Brad Dalkey, who was like basically one of the stars, he ended up winning it. He's off +7, should be on the tour. And then his like worst teammate was like rubbish essentially, and just like trying to nurse these teams round. And it just came down to a game that then went down the 18th hole all square. Someone off like a 7 handicap who's like good enough at golf but like has never played for $1 million essentially just like whacked it out of, and then thinned one over, and it was just perfect. And I just think they can go bigger and better. It can be for more money. They can get a greater discrepancy in players, because that's what I think made it good, is having some really shit people and some really good people, but the good people having to rely on the shit people.
Yeah.
And all in all, I thought it was a roaring success. Some people came out better than others. There were some people with huge following that I thought were just completely naff when given a chance to be interesting on the mic. There were a couple of people like DOD King, who just, his brand is being a bit of a kind of Chad, I suppose. But like, at least he was the Chad. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like he didn't let the money suppress his character. And so he just was a twat for 4 episodes or however long he laughed. And I love that. And I was kind of like, we just need more of them. We need more villains. We need more heroes. But all in all, I think we're on something. And could you just imagine if we had like, I'm trying to think, someone interesting, like DeChambeau, fine. Have DeChambeau at one end. The player can be better. Let's have some tour level players, but the tour level players are relying on someone who's of 23 to hold them a 3-footer. Like, that's the shit I'm up for. You know what I mean? Anyway, excuse my language.
Yeah. It would be interesting for those that want to watch that.
Yeah, which is not everyone, and I get that, but it was good TV. And when we talk about kind of where the golfing landscape is moving, I do think it's an option. It's never going to take away from the big and the bad and the majors and all that, but just for some pure entertainment as we kind of diversify what we're watching. You look at like TGL and stuff like that. Let me tell you, this was a lot more entertaining than TGL.
Fine, okay. And in many ways, probably more entertaining than the RSM Classic for the average watcher.
Yeah. I mean, golf YouTube is getting big like that. It's just a fact.
Yeah.
And it was good for someone to just kind of bring it almost together under one body, I suppose. And they made a format that worked for people of all different levels, and just getting people to rely on each other and having this discrepancy in standard for a lot of money was good. So that was that. Right, let's dive into some location stuff. So you're the man in charge today. You take us wherever you want to go first.
Well, let's go in chronological timeline order. So we'll start in the Algarve. So I mentioned previously, alluded to it. It was a 24-man match play Ryder Cup style event, whereby we played day one on the Saturday. Doesn't really matter, but just so you can get a bearing of where it was. Flew out the Friday, arrived in Villamora Friday night, obviously had a few drinks, and everyone gets a bit silly, and the pairings get out for the 4-ball match play on Saturday. Then Saturday night again, go out. Sunday, we then did a 2-man scramble with 6 tee shots needed to be hit each, 2 of which needed to be on par 3s, and there were only 5 par 3s, and they were long, and we played that off the blacks, which is like beyond, that is just like the tips, as far back as it goes, whatever it can be. And then the final round, the Monday, was singles. So it was a Ryder Cup style in terms of teams, but not the format. So we they pick the teams out of different buckets, so it's similar handicaps along the way. And historically, it's always been scratch. This year, for the first time, they had a handicap element.
Just because of the way handicaps in there.
Yeah, just because of the way that the group transpired to be is my understanding of it. As I say, I'm very much a guest on this trip, so you get the toned down version of me, I think.
So
they might not agree.
You're telling me Portugal saw best behaviour, Josh?
It's all good behaviour, Josh. Whether it's best behaviour is not for me to necessarily comment on, but certainly better behaviour than previous years. And yes, that's all we'll go with. So the three courses we played were Quinta South, so Quinta del Lago South, Laranjal, which is one of the Quinta courses as well, and then Umbria, which is one of the newer courses in the area. On previous trips, for context for the group, we have played Amandira, both the Faldo and the O'Connor course.
Mm-hmm.
We've done Villamora Old. We've done Laranjal previously. We've done Quinta North. And I think, off the top of my head, put on the spot here, that's it. And I feel like I'm missing a year's trip, if I'm being honest. We did Monterey as well beforehand. And we did the Victoria course and Millennium course. So there we go. There's your 4 years worth of 3 courses per time.
And so, believe it or not, I've not golfed in Portugal. I've, for whatever reason, it's avoided me. Oh, I've avoided it, I suppose. In terms of the Portuguese landscape, does that cover 85%? Like what kind of inroad are you making to really the courses that should be on anyone's list?
Great question. I would say that you've got 2 places in Portugal that you play. You play Algarve, which is what we would all think of, and is what's kind of been monopolised in many ways with stag do trips and things like that. And then what's recently cropped up is more the Lisbon area. I've not played at all in the Lisbon area. Heard really, really good things. I believe that the number 1 course in Portugal is actually in the Lisbon area called Terrace de Comporta, like the Dunes course there.
Yeah.
So number 2 in Portugal is Monterey, which would then be the jewel in the Algarve.
Yep.
Which is just factually, it just is. It's brilliant. But what I would say is, again, when you think about both those areas, they are both pretty well spaced geographically to play courses from one base, which I think is always nice when that can happen. Previously played the Valdelobo courses as well. So I feel like I've kind of ticked off the Algarve and got a bit of a feel for it. I've always been a Spain golfer. My family have always gone to Spain as opposed to Portugal, for example. And I still think that the best courses in southern Spain, for example, are better than any of the courses I've seen in Portugal.
Interesting.
Quite frankly. But I think it's subjective. If you actually look at the golf rankings, it's not subjective, it's factual, what I've just said. But I think it's subjective.
Yeah.
So moving back to the trip, we've played Quinta South, which is the highest rated of the 3 Quinta courses with Laranjal and North, was on day 1. And it's a beautiful setup. If you see any sort of Dan Greaves stuff, he sets himself up in Quinta quite often. Beautiful area, really good setup, great patio, really good patio. Overlooks the first on the South course. Very good patio. Practice facilities are average, but like really good patio. And I just thought it was just a really good golf course. It was a golf course that you play it first time, you play it 5th time. It's playable. You play well, you can score. You play badly, it can beat you up. It's not just a resort course, but it's not do I think this is a championship venue? It's not that at all. But it's not just like a gimmicky resort.
Where would it just trying to kind of like give it some kind of pegging in my mind, where would you or how would you compare it to something like Carrier and Montgomery Max in Turkey?
Yeah, great question. I think it is
because that's what the reason I asked that specific question, because I'm thinking warm weather European destination, multiple course facility, kind of well situated to other courses. So you're going for easy logistics, good weather, and good level golf. It's not a world beater, understood. I don't think Carrier and Montgomery Max are world beaters, but they are both really, really good golf courses and kind of the best that Bellick has to offer, which ultimately directly competes against Portugal in my mind.
Yeah, so I would say it's probably in the same camp. I would say we're talking a same camp as Carrier, Montgomery. but less able to host a championship because it just doesn't have the space to be able to have more crowds or strengthen the holes. I just had a little look actually whilst you were talking there, and Kinta South is ranked 35th continental Europe. Carrier's 38, for example.
Yeah, okay, so very much in that bracket.
We're talking a real similar area, and the Montgomery Max is, if you just bear with me, 58th. But I think we would agree that I think Carrier's still better than the both. I think if they flipped, but they're in that same camp. Is where we're at with that.
Okay, nice.
We played it off. Probably could have played it a little bit further back. One of the lads shot 7 under, like just cruised through it, just like thanks for coming. Apparently missed a few putts as well. Outrageous. Missed like 3 10-footers coming in, which you're not going to hole them all, of course you're not. But when you shoot 7 under, you'd think I've holed everything. Nah, he didn't.
Proper round of golf that.
Yeah, really good. You know, but a lot of the guys were shooting good scores. You know, I ended up losing a ball up a tree on 18, going on a completely naughty line, and I was 1 under at the time. You know, like it's just like you play solid, you can score. You play badly, you won't. But good variation, exactly what you'd expect from a course in the sun in Portugal, Spain, Turkey. You know, good bunkering. Sort of those tall pine trees on the side, not a lot of rough. Water's one of the hazards. That sort of vibe of a golf course.
Yeah.
Really good. Really enjoyed it. Great nick. It's not rammed, so you can get round. You're not stood for 5-6 hours because you're stuck behind golfers who can't golf, which you find sometimes happens on some of the Dom Pedro courses there, like Millennium and not necessarily Victoria, but like Millennium and the old course.
Yeah.
So a really solid round of golf. Me and one of the boys, Gorman, we were able to win our game 3-2, which is a nice start. Just gets you ticked off. You've put yourself a point on the board, and you move on from there. So that would be my sort of initial Kinta South ranking.
Nice.
So then you move to Laranjal, which is ranked a little bit worse. It doesn't have a continental Europe ranking, but for me is in the same category. I think it's brilliant.
And where you staying, just for kind of logistics points there? So how far did you have to travel to get to Kinta South, and then next day Laranjal? What kind of travels were you doing?
Yeah, so we were in Villamora Port, so we were right on the front, in the port. We were probably talking between 25-30 minutes to Kinta South, and then similar amount for Laranjal, and then it was probably 30-35 to Umbria, but then we were heading back to the airport from there. So it's much further away than a Turkey trip, than a Belek, but it's more in keeping with what you would see if you went to Spain. Yeah. There are courses nearer. You could stay a little bit nearer, but actually where there's a bit of life in an evening, Villamora Port, for example, nicer restaurants and things like that, it's worth going.
I think half an hour when you're in a kind of bus with the boys is nothing. It's, we always say kind of one of the drawbacks of the Wild Atlantic Way is just like so many good golf courses, but like actually none of them are that close to each other. And so if you're staying kind of somewhere central-ish to all of them, you're looking at over hour journey every day. So half an hour, I think, is, goes in a flash, like you said.
100%, especially when you've had a few the night before, and actually you just need that half hour to just glaze over.
Yeah, your head's down like this on the way there, and then you've had a couple afterwards, so you're chatting away on the way back.
Exactly that. Albeit the second day was a really early start, so we were picked up at 6:15 a.m. Just to clarify.
Sorry, there's a very funny meme where there's like people dancing in the middle of a very dizzy dance floor, and it's just like, this is the scene in Portugal when you've got a tea time in 2 hours or whatever. Was there any of that, or are we now branching into it, or does this group fill a bracket that is looking at an early tea time like that and then getting an early night?
I think there was a varied approach to the early tea time. as I said, I was on good behaviour. So I
don't know what that means, because that could be good behaviour. Okay, I'm going to say yes to everything because it's not my group and I want them to make sure they know I'm fun. Or that could be like good behaviour. No, I want to play good golf.
No, that's good behaviour. I've gone to bed because I'm up at 5:45 and I'm
just wanted to clarify.
I cannot function on no sleep. I can't swing a golf club when I'm 2-pit. I just can't. I don't have the timing because it's all timing. So, no. So yeah, that was an early start. But a couple of the boys were in the casino until 2:15, which doesn't give them a lot of sleep, and they were absolute puppets of themselves. That next morning, shocking. But what was a nice tidbit was that we arrived at Laranjal before 7, and actually it hadn't opened, which was really good organisation from those who organised it. Wasn't FPG,
not us.
So we were stood outside, and imagine you've had a night out with the boys, a few beers, some rich meat. You then play golf the next day, and then you repeat that process. By the Sunday morning, there were quite a few members of the group that needed to use the facilities. And there were quite a few members of the group queuing for said privilege for when the clubhouse opened at 7. So there was quite a funny sight of just a group of men just queuing for the door to open, all in different states of agitation, of course, which was great.
Can I just ask you to expand slightly more on rich meats?
Sorry, I just dropped something there. Good steakhouses. Sorry, my back's just spasming a little bit, so just enjoy yourself.
Really? Cool. It's that just past parallel swing that just,
parallel. One of the restaurants did a bit of everything, had lamb chops. They brought back 8. I've never seen 8. I loved it. I'm not complaining. But 8, fantastic. Really good. Next night, went to steakhouse. Obviously, we had a big share of steak. Well, a few of them for the table that we were on. And then the last night was more of a Italian type vibe, keeping it clean, keeping it honest, getting some carbs back in.
Right. I was just wondering if it kind of like stretched to kind of Donna kind of style meats. No, it was rich actually in terms of just
actual rich red wine. Red wine with it. Some beers have preceded it. So you're talking really heavy, just heavy food, heavy drink.
Yeah. Okay, I got it. All right, sorry, I've stopped your flow. So we're I think we're at Laranjal.
We're at Laranjal.
Just get into the golf course.
So Laranjal is just brilliant. I love it. And actually, as a consensus, I think it's the favourite. It's the reason we went back to it after last year to this year. It's just fantastic. They've switched the 9s. So actually, what used to be a pretty weak 18th hole, just a pretty straight, bland par 5, is now the 9th. And now there's quite a nice par 5 across a few waters. You can go over water off the tee, but then you play into water on the right. So there's a couple of little pool bits. It's a good switch, and I think the golf course is better for it as a result. There's plenty of water. There's plenty of space. It's an old orange grove thing. It's an old orange.
It'd be an orange orchard, I think.
Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for, and then that's great to hear. Thanks for bailing me out there.
No worries.
But the thing with it is the facilities are like non-existent, pretty much.
Non-existent. I'm really surprised by this.
Yeah, they've got a range over the road, but like as a clubhouse, it's pretty much just a bit of decking and a cover that can do some food here and there, because they just don't have the space for a clubhouse. It's a golf course, but it's a bloody good golf course. Water across, like quite a few holes have interaction with water. Greens that you have multiple different pin positions to, and would change the hole depending on where they are as well. They're not just a new pin position for the sake of it. Like it would actually make you think about going for a par 5 and 2 or not, or going after one of the short par 4s or not. The par 3s are strong. as I say, we played it off the furthest back you can get, and we had 3 par 3s over 230 yards, couple that were like within the 180 to 200 yards. So really, I think the least I hit into a par 3 was like an 8 iron into 170-ish par 3. So, and I was hitting 3 irons into other, it's one of those, especially, which is why we did scramble, firstly, which was brilliant. It was a great format for it. But there was enough. You couldn't just slap driver around and just go low. Well, some couldn't. I was with Truman, who's just quality, and we played really well and actually won. We won our match, but we won the day as well. So you play for a pot through the day. We shot 9 under, which was a good solid knock off.
2-man scramble.
2-man scramble. Yeah,
off the backs. Jesus,
off the backs, and we'd got.
I like the idea of scrambling off the back tees.
Really good, and we'd got our 6 and 6 done by the 12th, which was also quite a nice element. So it was nice. And you know what? The putter was the architect around my contribution, which I couldn't believe. It was fantastic. I've never felt it before, and I never felt it again. On Monday, my putter was the livest of live rattlesnakes you've ever seen.
I do. I mean, I think like the scramble is conducive to you putting well, because like, especially if you're putting with another good putter, like there's another opportunity, like you can, especially if they go first and like roll it up and it's just like, okay, like you literally have a free roll and just like multiple free rolls.
I went first. I was like, I'll give you the line because I'm not going to see it, so don't worry about it. And it was just hold.
Really?
Hold.
Even Truman must have vocalized some support for this performance.
I need it. You know what? I need it because actually all of the confidence that I gained on that day was shattered within 3 holes on Umbria with single. So clearly it's a mental thing. Clearly I'm just a mental midget with the putter. You know what? It's a shame.
So Laranjal, you're speaking very highly of the golf course, though, but you're not saying you think it's as good as Kinta South. If we're just kind of rolling,
think it's better. I think it's better, but it's ranked like doesn't even have a continental Europe ranking. Like it's
right
for the powers that be. Apparently, it's not even in the same hemisphere. But I think it's right in that same camp of top tier holiday courses that Carriers and Montgomery Max have held events. Laranjal probably could. I don't think Kinta South could, is where I'm at.
Okay.
So I would say Laranjal, Kinta South, Umbria, for those that are waiting for the third course. Umbria is third, and I was actually a bit disappointed with it. But then the highest ranked course there is Monterey, which we played last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's number 1, like it just is, but it can actually be in worse nick. They sometimes lose the greens and it's not necessarily quite as pretty. As a golf architect perspective, that is the best course. But I think, again, it's in the same bracket as these other two, as is Villamora Old.
October must be quite decent time of year for them, though, no? Just because I assume they lose the greens through
absolutely.
Summer.
You know, November too. It's the right time of year. It's just that's one of the sort of reflections on Monterey. It's sometimes just not as good nick for whatever reason, and it's a little bit further away. It's a good schlep. I think it's a good 45, 50 minutes away.
Okay, it's still not awful though.
It's still not awful, but when there's a lot of golf to be played within a half an hour bracket, it's got to be worth going to, and it is. But you've got to tick off Villamora Old, Laranjal, Kinta South, as well as that. I would say I think they're the top tier of 4 in that area.
And so if I was to say to you, like you've done it now multiple different ways, if you're going to build just the absolute like this is the way to do it, Portugal trip, you're coming in, how many days is it going to be, where are you going to stay, and then what are the however many courses you're going to play? Like what would be, without going overboard, like your like classical, because I don't think people, I don't think this is a 8-day trip, 10-day trip. No. This is coming in, you're doing just beyond a long weekend, 4 or 5 days. That's kind of where I'm seeing it, but interested to get your take. Like what's the ultimate Portugal trip?
Yeah, so I think I think there's, as I mentioned, I think there's 4 courses. If you're doing it, you do a long weekend. You fly out Thursday night from London. It's really easy. So many flights from Gatwick. You fly out. You stay in Villamora. The Tivoli Hotel is beautiful. That's not where we stayed, but it's beautiful. And I would say stay there because actually the drop off is quite apparent. Like the Villa Gale hotels are okay, but they're not in the same bracket. So if the ultimate trip would be there.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say in no particular order, you play 4 courses across Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then you fly out Monday night. And those 4 courses would be Kinta South, Laranjal, Villamora Old Course, and I'd probably try and play that on either the Friday or probably the Friday, because that is a course that gets particularly busy and you could be on it for 6 hours if it's a Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
And then Monterey. I think they're your 4. And again, I'd probably play Monterey not on the Monday because it's further from the airport, is my very basic geography that could be completely wrong. But that's how I'd probably do it. If I was fleshing it out course wise, I'd go Friday Villamora Old, bit tighter, but still you're going to miss the real massive traffic, I think. Or even Monday, but let's go Friday. You do Laranjal Saturday because it doesn't have the facilities to hold your bags on the Monday if you then go into the airport.
Yeah.
Sunday, Monterey, you're a bit warmed up. You're going to go and play your Jewel. And then Monday, you're going to play Kinta South. Good facilities to host your bags and luggage to be able to then whip straight off to the airport.
Very nice. Well, it sounds like a good trip. Got me excited at the prospect of it now. And as I said, it's by the sound of such a good shoulder season option as well. I said you were there kind of early November and said the weather was good. And I know lots of different golf clubs organise tours out to Portugal this kind of time of year, maybe February, March, and it always looks like the weather kind of delivers some good golfing weather anyway, which is very valuable, and it's really a very short flight from London.
Yeah.
You mentioned that stuff up in Lisbon as well. I mean, we have been seeing a lot these new. I think it's the 2 new courses that they've introduced. I think it's the Junas course, which is kind of, I believe it's just won best new course in Europe
Really?
at the Golf Travel Awards that were going on a couple of weeks ago. So a lot of people were talking really big about that, and it looks class. It looks like Pinehurst-esque. And I know they're also, I believe there's going to be an Els club going into Portugal soon, and that's going to be seen because my understanding from speaking to a couple of people over the summer is I don't think Portugal really has the kind of really high-end members club like a Valderrama, where very few guest tee times that are very, very expensive, and so the people that have the big villas in Portugal who potentially would want to pay for a very high-end country club, as if you will, I believe that is what Els Club is trying to be, and so it'll be interesting that hitting the scene as well. It's already a very established scene, as we know. The big companies in our category do lots of business out to Portugal. But there must be a reason for that. And by the sounds of it, you had a great time and the course has kind of showed up. So have to get out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to touch on the Els Club piece, it's going to be what was Victoria, is my understanding, which is, we played it a few years ago, and it's what held the Portugal Masters, but they ripped it apart. Like the tour players are winning it at like 28 under par. I think it's where Ollie Fisher shot 59 on DP Tour. So it's already got the skeleton of a very good golf course, decent facilities already. It's going to be really interesting to see what the Els Club it makes it into.
Yeah, no, nice. Cool. Well, I think that kind of covers Portugal. And I said we're doing a bit of a dual location stop here today because you have just been winter sunning yourself up of late, and we thought we'd talk about it because obviously a lot of the professional golf's been in the Middle East of late, and you've also been there.
Yeah, absolutely. And so Oman is where we're going to talk about. I think my first statement with Oman is beautiful place. What a really, really great place. One of the taxi drivers described it to me as the Switzerland of the Middle East, compared to Dubai's New York of the Middle East. Quieter, got its culture still, just whatever you read into that. I thought it was quite a nice analogy.
Mhm.
As a golfing destination, do I think it's ready to host a trip? No, because at the moment there is one golf course that is worth playing, and that's Al Mouj, which is what we played, which is ranked second in the Middle East, behind Yas Links, ahead of all the Dubai courses, which, having not played in Dubai, I still think is probably a little bit surprising. It hosts Challenge Tour event every year. It used to have the Oman Open on the DP World Tour, I think back when it was the European Tour. And it's really, really excellent, actually. 9 or 10 holes right up the coast, whether you're playing at the sea, along the sea with it on your left, along with it on your right. There's some water on a few of the other holes that they've created. I think it's a really good golf course. And again, played it off as far back as I could go without it being like pro tees that weren't even laid out. And again, played it nicely, was 2 under.
I assume conditioning was just kind of next level.
It was just brilliant. Like, you could put from the fairways, all those old analogies that you kind of roll out when you're looking for a good golf course. Wind gets up because you're on the coast, so certainly in the afternoons it gets really windy. So I'm giving you all the reasons why it could be a golfing location, but there isn't another course that's worth playing anywhere nearby. Now, in 3 years' time, Trump's got a new hotel that is being made next to the Jumeirah and next to the Shangri-La, which is where we stayed, which is about 20 minutes outside of Muscat, just right up on the coast, so a resort. And the original design is for an 18-hole championship venue to go in there as well, potentially a 36-hole. So once that goes in, you've got 2-3 golf courses. You can then start branching out and potentially making it a bit more of a location.
Yeah.
But that was sort of my feeling initially. I think it's still a few years away as a golfing venue, whereas the likes of your Dubai's, the likes of your Abu Dhabi's, even Saudi, which I know we're going to jump on in a moment, has a few more courses sooner and in a closer proximity.
Yeah, we were discussing it pre-pod. Dubai's set, Dubai's established. I think Abu Dhabi is kind of well on its way, and obviously with its proximity to Dubai, like, that works. Yas is obviously now very much established as a great venue. We had a customer there last week, said it was just absolutely class. And I think what we're going to see, and Josh, you touched on it, that there's plans of 3 very big courses going into Saudi. Like you said, Oman with Trump. Trump's money comes in, like, the hospitality side will be handled correctly. And they've clearly got a good golf team. Like, you look at what they've done up in Aberdeen with the new course. Like, I assume the same people would be involved in working any course wherever it might be. And so I do think we are going to see an explosion or further explosion in the Middle East with golf. Like, I think people see the upside of it. And so to add to Dubai, to add to Abu Dhabi, we're going to see Saudi, and I think we're going to see Oman. And really interesting for you to go out there, not something where we probably would have thought was on the bingo card at the beginning of the year, but to kind of get that insight that there is clear potential, the topography is there, the money's obviously going to be there. Really excited to see what happens over the next kind of decade or so.
Definitely. And they've got the money, and people with money like villas on golf courses in nice areas. It's just a fact, and it's going to happen.
Who doesn't?
Yeah.
I'm spending my whole life working out how I can get one of these villas on one of these golf courses. Actually, I kind of periodically look at houses at Fancourt down in South Africa, and the ones listed seem to be a lot more expensive than the ones that were listed 6 months ago. So I'm now scaring myself by looking. So I'm like, God, I'm gonna have to work it out. Anyway, nice, cool. Well, I'm very jealous. I said it's my turn to get some sun next, and I think it's Josh will probably look more tan than me by the time he gets to South Africa in January. But we'll at least try, and I'll certainly try and rub it in along the way with some good content out in South Africa. I am ready for some sun.
I'm sure you'll succeed as well in that.
Yeah. All right, mate. Well, good to catch up. I say, well, I think there's actually quite a lot going on there. You know, we kind of hit
Yeah.
this kind of end of season patch, and it's potentially some people kind of scramble a little bit, but we had a decent run there, and I said some good shoulder season venues there. Maybe, well, Portugal obviously very popular, but Oman a bit of a joker. And I think we'll be back next. So we're getting towards the end of the year, so we'll probably start doing a bit of a season roundup. Maybe next episode, episode after, talk about where we've been this year and kind of our thoughts. Maybe a bit of a ranking on our 2025 courses, which is all very exciting, isn't it?
Cool,
anyway, mate, very good to chat with you, and we will see you on the next one.
Perfect. Cheers, pal.